Hey, good morning. This is Bryon Watkins in Las Vegas, Nevada. I want to do a. I was a little bit ambivalent about doing it because, and of course, in light what happened out here in Las Vegas. But since a lot of the corrupt politicians want to jump on the bandwagon already and not let the situation really seep in to some people, so that's why I feel I need to do this video now regarding gun rights and accessories of guns and accessories rights as well for the guns. If you have any questions, you can call the number 702-983-0711, 702-983-0711. Let's talk about the history of just weapons in general. Not only the founding fathers preached about this adamantly, but other cultures as well. Now, in every culture, how can I say this? Well, throughout history, throughout time. There's always a group of people that they have another group of people, I would say that's in charge of them, but has a government, some form of government to keep things even keel, so to speak. Now, the framers from their read, and they read extensively, because back in that day, that's all they had were books. Past regimes and governments, what have you, always found a way to slowly but surely usurp the natural rights of their citizens, of their people. Now, what can ward that off? Well, to defend yourself, weapons, guns, or at that time, swords, maybe bows and arrows, what have you. Well, first let me say this, so you can understand where I'm coming from. I'm pro-gun, absolutely through and through, pro-gun. Any accessories to guns, I'm for those. I'm pro-accessories also, just so you know where I'm coming from. So I'm going to give you the goods and the bads of guns. Now, getting back to what I was saying, because I slightly digress. I apologize. Regimes and different governments and parliaments and what have you always wants to slowly but surely take rights away from people. Now, who do these organizations, these governments have? They have the military. They have other NGOs, non-government organizations. They have other IGOs, international government organizations. They have the CIA. They have private contract. They have access to all of that with the best state-of-the-art weaponry. Now, granted, someone will say, well, Bryon, because we've all heard this talk before. They'll say, Bryon, well, if guns are to help citizens protect themselves from government, or if guns were made to allow regular, ordinary people be comparable to government weapons, well, then that means everyone can have a nuclear weapon, or a tank, or an attack helicopter, or an F-18 Hornet. Now, when people say that, I think to myself, oh, I used to, but now I'm just more blunt about it. I say to them now, you know, you must be a new kind of stupid. Of course, I don't think everyone should have a nuclear weapon, for crying out loud. That fallacy is beyond. I don't know. I can't even put words behind it. People say asinine things like that. I can't even put thoughts into that. Why would you say such a thing? At the very least, all people have the right to defend themselves against foreign and domestic enemies, domestic combatants. It's as simple as that. You can't put it more plain than that. I can't be more blunt than that. It is what it is. It's that simple. Now, with that said, do I feel guns should be banned? Now listen to me carefully when I say this, because there's two parts. Do I believe all guns should be banned? Yes, go ahead and ban them all. Ban all the guns. I don't care. However, since the country of America, since the world is so replete with weapons, you can go ahead and ban guns, but you got to give me 3 promises, 3 guarantees on paper. Number one, you're going to guarantee to me that you're going to confiscate every weapon from every not just criminal, but criminal-minded individuals. That's number one. Number two, you're going to guarantee, if that's the case, if you can do that, then I will give you my weapon. I will need, you don't even have to pay for them. I'll give them to you. But number two, all law enforcement whatsoever, you hand over you confiscate your weapons also. You won't need, why would you need them? If you want to confiscate all the weapons, let's be fair about it. Let's have an even slate. Let's have an even kill, not a rocky road, not a wobbler. Let's make it even Steven across the board. Let's do that. That's number two. And number three, local, state, and federal governments. And I'm going to say this because of Edward Snowden. You guarantee to us, all the people on open record on national TV documented that you will not, you will cease and desist any and all kinds of illegal activity against the people. Now, if you can do that, you can have all the weapons. You get all of them. I don't care. But you and I both know you can't guarantee not one of them. Well, then I'm going to keep my weapons. Because government, local, state, and federal, this includes, but not limited to, the agents, meaning the commissioners, the council board members, which are the commissioners, I do believe, the senators, the congressman, the president, doesn't matter who the president is, the Secret Service, the FBI, the local police, the DEA, FBI, CIA, the Bureau of Land Management, all of you, I don't trust none of you. And I speak for millions of people, not thousands. I speak for millions of people, be it conservatives or liberals, blacks or whites or Hispanics or Native Americans. Doesn't matter. I guarantee you I speak for millions of people. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. Whenever Snowden proved what he proved, I didn't really trust the government before, but when that came out, that did it. That's still my trust in the government. That's still the faith for me. I'm going to get to my point regarding guns and government in a second, because I'm going to quote. So I went on a website called www.truth-out.org. It was online January 8th, 2013, and it was written by the Daily Take Team, the FOM THOM Hartman Program op-ed. That's what it was. That's what I got. This information I'm about to incorporate into what I'm saying now. So. Government, not only do we have our weapons against any tyrannical acts you or God knows that you're thinking of, but also against your average ordinary criminal on the street. It's as simple as that. And we as a people, as a natural right, as to protect our own bodies, we have a right to defend ourselves against any and all kinds of potential threats that the criminal mind and criminal mindset has. That's fact. We have the right to do that. Unfortunately, we cannot prevent things that happen here in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, that's why I posted on my Facebook. Some of you misspelled my name, but it's Bryon Watkins. Go on my Facebook. There's been over 1,500 mass shootings. You can't really predict when that's going to happen, but for that very reason, is another reason why I am a firm believer in the right to carry. Because I've also heard some other fallacy, asinine, idiotic comments. I heard someone said in the conversation over the kind of started to butt in, but I didn't. I started to check them, but someone was saying, I can't remember the exact words, but someone was saying to the effect, well, you see, they should just go ahead and ban weapons, because if there's a mass shooting, it's not like everybody's going to be on the same level or the same floor as that individual, so how can they really defend themselves? That's what they were saying, something like that. So bottom line, what they were getting at, if we're not in a highly elevated position as the mass shooter, whoever the mass shooter may be, why should we have, that's what they're saying, why should we have weapons? There's nothing we can do about it from that standpoint. Well, if every mass shooting happened from a highly elevated position, then I would agree. Most did not, so that was a stupid comment. See, it kills me when people say the dumbest things without logic. They have no logic whatsoever, which is another reason why I preach philosophy so much. No one has really good logic, and no one, well, I'm not going to say no one, I'm just being hypothetical, and no one, sure as hell, don't think outside the box. And everybody, not everybody, but being hypothetical, always wants to start deciding and making decisions on emotions. That's how a lot of innocent people were convicted, by the way, on emotions, without logic, without thinking outside the box, and without technically being at least a quarter of a way intelligent. That's fact. People always want to give these unsupported opinions, subjective statements with no historical documentation to support what they have just said. I can always support what I say, always. And some of you already know that. I've already proven that. Just like I'm about to prove this right here. So, getting back to the 1,500 mass shootings that I posted on my Facebook. Say, for example, I walk into a Denny's. I'm eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm just eating food. Doesn't matter. Someone walks in and starts shooting up the place. What do you do? If you have your weapon on you, what do you do? Well, you're going to shoot back. Now, hold that thought, because now I'm going to read to you from this website, and I'm going to go back into what I'm talking about. So keep the restaurant part in your mind, the restaurant part in your mind, and keep the part in your mind regarding guns and government. Well, the guns and government part I'm about to hit on right now, but the restaurant part, keep that in your mind. Now, according to this website, www.truth-out.org, they were saying this, and I'm just quoting. Second Amendment was not, I just took brief notes. Second Amendment was not to keep government in check, but it was to protect the government from foreign and domestic threats. I'll say that again, and you heard correctly. According to them, according to their research, they said the Second Amendment was not to keep government in check, but it was to protect the government. Now, for argument's sake, let's say that was true. Let's say all the founding fathers, that was their intentions. That's fine with me. I go with that. That's cool. However, and there is a big however. So the Second Amendment was invented to help protect the government. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the Denny's restaurant scene. Okay, the government's in Washington, D.C. Or even say your local, state, and federal government, just in your prospective state. I'm going into Denny's. I'm not eating my food at those government buildings. What if a shooter comes into Denny's and starts to shoot up the place? Oh, but I forgot. According to this website, we shouldn't have guns because they're only used to protect the government. Well, the government's way over there. I'm eating inside the restaurant, and someone comes in and starts shooting up the place. But I don't have my weapon on me because according to some of you all out there, we shouldn't have guns. So what do you do? What if you're there with your family? Your kids? What do you do? But according to you all, we shouldn't have weapons. Granted, I go back. Let's say, for argument's sake, yeah, okay, cool. Guns were invented to help the people, for the people to help protect the government from domestic and foreign violence or insurrections or whatever, what have you. That's cool. I can dig it. What about the guy coming into the Denny's and shooting up the place, and you're there with your families? What then? What about that part? I'll let that marinate in your head for a little bit. Now, it goes on. It goes on to say, according to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 16, it is provided organizing an army and disciplining a militia. And what they're getting at is organizing an army and a disciplining a militia in the event the government needs help to be protected. Well, I'm going to debunk that also. Because also in their Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 13, is they are to, Congress is to provide and maintain a Navy. Keep that in mind. Also in their Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15, calling forth militia to execute laws of the Union to suppress insurrections and rebel against invasions. Well, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 13. Congress has the authority and duty to provide a Navy. They also have a duty to provide the armed forces. So my thing is this. They have armed forces with unlimited access to all kinds of weapons. Why the hell will they need us to protect them? They already have their army and military. The militia is designed to help protect ordinary citizens in their respective states. Government, you can't be everywhere at the same time. That's why the states are separate from the United States Incorporated. Some of you all don't know what I mean when I say that. Some of you do. The United States Incorporated, meaning those idiots in Washington, D.C. Yes. And the states have their own militias or their own protective shields, what have you, to help protect themselves in case they are invaded. And the reason I say that is this. Say, for example, a state in Nevada gets invaded by a foreign enemy, foreign agents or whatever. At the same time, there's an all-out war going on overseas. Well, the military can't be in both places. So while the military is fighting overseas, who's going to protect the home front? The militia helps with that. Ordinary citizens with guns helps with that. In fact, wasn't there a quote, and the entire quote, if you read the context of the quote, it was during World War II, a Japanese general, I forgot his name, they asked why wasn't he attacking the lands, why was he trying to pierce the borders of America? And he said, well, because all Americans have guns. Hello? There are always people out there that are trying to come up with ways to conquer another country or territory. That's been going on for thousands of years. What will defend against that? What will ward that off? Those people that are living in those countries or territories that have weapons in the event they are invaded. Because I don't know about you. Say, for example, they take away all the guns. Someone breaks into your house. Okay, let me call 911 and wait for someone with a gun. Well, you may be dead by then. Now, granted, I already know about the court case in D.C. I forgot the name of it. I think it was D.C. versus Heller. That was the first court case that actually used the Second Amendment to allow people that own guns in their homes, at least in that district. I'll say that again, because that's not really registering with some people. That was the first court case that the Second Amendment allowed people to have guns in their homes. So what you're saying to me is, if I lived in that district in D.C., I have to get an amendment to get permission so I can protect myself? Oh, no, hell no. No. I'm not using anything written by man to decide what I can and cannot use to protect myself. That's my natural right. That's my God-given right. That's my natural born right. I don't need you man here, you woman there to ask permission to do that. Screw you. You can go to hell with that crap. I listen to Bryon Watkins only. And someone will say, well, they may come arrest you. Well, good luck with that, because you're going to have a fight on your hands with that also. Because now you're trying to do more than take away my rights. You're trying to take away my livelihood. I'm not going to allow that. No, I'm not talking about I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to knuckle up with you. Talking to you officials that tries that crap with me. I'm still fairly young, pretty quick and fast still for my age. But I continue on the same website. During the Kentucky and Virginia Resolution, also known as the Principles of '98, because it was that happened in 1798, it was regarding James Madison Jr. The resolution on the issue clearly stated that these are James Madison Jr.'s words, shall not be infringed since A well-regulated militia is best security for a free country. Those are words from James Madison Jr. in the Kentucky and Virginia Resolutions, 1798. James Madison Jr., he said, regarding weapons, shall not be infringed since a well-regulated militia is best security for a free country. I disagree with that. And I'm not knocking, saying the militia can't help protect. What I'm getting at is not the military, even the militia can protect all. Everyone has their own individual right to help protect yourself also. So therefore, again, I am a pro-gun individual. I am pro-gun man. I am for guns, yes. Unfortunately, there's good and bad in guns. There's good and bad in governments. There's good and bad in automobiles. There's good and bad in alcohol. There's good and bad in swords. There's good and bad in crane operators. There's good and bad in lumberjacks. There's good and bad in fishermen. There's good and bad being just in the military. There's good and bad in everything in life. Good and bad in relationships. Good and bad in everything. Everything. Doesn't matter. You're not going to prevent the bad in all. When it comes to being a crane operator, you're not going to prevent someone from eventually dying. When it comes from good and bad in automobiles, you're not going to prevent someone from not getting into an accident. When it comes to good and bad in building a home, you're not going to prevent someone from getting injured by building a home. When it comes to good and bad in sports, you're not going to prevent someone not getting injured. I can go on with the good and bads and everything. You're not going to prevent it. It's not going to happen. Because a lot of people seem to think also, well, if we get rid of guns altogether, there's not going to be any more shootings. That's not true, because someone's going to think of a way to make a weapon. Now, if you can get rid of not only the guns and any and all kinds of accessories to build a weapon, have at it. But see, now what you're doing is you are impeding on someone's individual rights for creating something. You can't do that in a free market society, in a republic, in our country. You can't do that. Now, with that said, I transition into speaking of creating something. Let's talk about the bump stock. So I'm glad I bought a couple of them when I did. And by the way, if the government ever wanted to come and say, okay, we've got to confiscate those, well, yeah, you can have both of them. It's going to cost you $10 million a piece. Free market society, I have the right to make a price on my own personal private property. Oh, by the way, I want half of that to be in gold. Quarter of it to be in platinum, and the rest of it to be in Federal Reserve notes. So unfortunately, Federal Reserve notes are still here. I'll say that. I'm not going to just give them to you. They're in my storage tucked away. So, bump stocks. Let's say they ban those. Well, you just took away the free market society, the natural right for the man or woman who invented that and is doing a production of them. That's not right. Someone can say, well, that makes that AR-15 that much more dangerous because it can shoot automatically now. Well, I hate to say this, but see, I'm a realist through and through. Be it in automatic or semi-automatic. Someone, if they're trained enough, and I've seen individuals do this, even with a semi-automatic, they can shoot out burst rounds. It's called the stock called the bump stock. You can also learn how to bump the trigger. So here's the thing, so people know this. The trigger, what makes a weapon illegal is hold on, I'm gonna use my pipe. This is my pipe. Say this is a rifle. And say this part right here is the trigger. This is the trigger. If you go inside, you open up the rifle, you go inside the trigger housing compartment, you alter it and make it shoot automatic, that's what makes it illegal. But anything that you use outside of the weapon to make it shoot automatic, perfectly legal and lawful. I can also go inside the housing trigger, I forgot the exact terminology, and alter the trigger pull I can make it so the trigger pull has less poundage. It takes I'm just giving you a hypothetical, 5 pounds of pressure maybe just to squeeze the trigger. Well, I can go inside the trigger housing to make it so it only takes 1 pound of pressure to squeeze the trigger. And at that point, I can also, since you can fire the weapon by just blowing on it, I can teach myself how to bump the trigger. Meaning, just doing that, it'll still shoot automatic. So, there's many ways to do it. So the only way, again, you're going to really stop everything is to obliterate every weapon on the face of the planet and every accessory that makes every weapon on the face of the planet. Then you'll have the ultimate gun control. But I highly disagree with that because, again, it's a free country, at least I think, a free market society, and people have the right to protect themselves against any potential threat, which means they have the right to use a weapon comparable to the one who's threatening them. That's a fact. That's natural rights. I'm not talking about man-made written rights, so-called crap. I'm talking about our natural rights. You can agree to disagree, or you can disagree or not like whatever. Frankly, I don't care. People say that. Also say this. This is another point. There are approximately, I think, 193, 194 countries on this planet, or in the world rather. Well, okay, in the world. You don't have to live in America. Go pick one. Go somewhere else if you don't like it. Go to Australia. They had gun confiscation, but what they did not tell you, if you do your research, as soon as they had gun confiscation, crimes shot through the roof. They sure did. I know that because on social media a couple of years ago, I communicated with a lot of people in Australia, and all of them confirmed the same thing. But they're not telling you that part. Why? Because they had no mechanisms to get the guns out of all those criminal or criminal-minded people that wish to do violence against others using a weapon. They couldn't do that part. They didn't tell you that part, though. Of course, they're going to lie and say, well, no, the crime was not that bad. Yes, it was. Australian government don't lie. Because all governments, I don't care if you're Australian government, Canadian government, American government, British, it doesn't matter. We're going to lie to you. And see, the thing with social media, you can't lie no more. Oh, excuse me, you can go ahead and lie all you want, but it's going to be debunked like within a matter of hours, whereas 40, 50 years ago, couldn't do that. Now, you tell a lie, we'll find out the truth within 5 minutes. But I'm going to go on, I'll read some more of this. And on that same website, www.truth-out.org, it also goes on to say, ultimately, the wording in the Second Amendment was a little different. As we all know, the Second Amendment, as it reads, the website, this is my own words, the website claims it's a conditional statement. Meaning, I'll read the Second Amendment to you. Hold on, give me a second. So I have it on my phone. Okay. Now I'm going to read back to you what James Madison Jr. wrote in the Kentucky and Virginia Resolution. Then I'm going to read the Second Amendment. And James Madison wrote, shall not be infringed since the well-regulated militia is best security for a free country. That's what he wrote in the Kentucky and Virginia Resolutions of 1789, also known as the Principles of 98, meaning for the 1798. But that's not the exact wording in the Second Amendment. In the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And then on the website, according to this website I just read to you, the last half of the Second Amendment in their United States Constitution, they say the wording in the Second Amendment is a little different. This website claims it's a conditional statement. That's what they say. It's on a condition regarding going back to the militia. Bottom line is, what they are implying, what they are insinuating, is the only ones that have really natural gun rights is the militia in the event of insurrections. I disagree with that once again. See, that's an opinion. That is an opinion because everyone has the individual right and duty amongst themselves to protect themselves at any time, anywhere, at any given cost. Now, let's go back to what Dennis, you said, see, this is very simple logic. Very, very simple. You don't even have to think outside the box. It's very simple logic. So, let's go back to eating at dinner. I'm there chilling, eating my flapjacks, pancakes, bacon, eggs, washing it down with a nice cold glass of orange juice, just washing that down, savoring it, just enjoying my family. Bam! Someone burst in with a weapon, started shooting up the place. Oh, let me call the militia. Oh, let me call the military. No, they're nowhere to be found. It's happening right now. Right now. It's being shot up right now. I need to protect myself and my family right now. So government, you can go to hell with your crap about gun control. All those people that want gun control, my advice to you is get out of the country. Bye, go, gone, be gone, leave. Because until it happens to you, it didn't happen to me, but until it happens to you, you'll be singing a different tune. Because there have been many reports also of people who are against guns, but were in a situation and they wish they had one. Or there was someone with a gun cane. Bottom line is, in a way, that's still implying that you're not really totally against guns like you claim. But for argument's sake, let's say you are against guns. Talking about those that are against guns, let's say you are against guns, and I'm not going to go more into that part. But according to this website, I'll say it again. According to this website, they claim that the second half of the Second Amendment is on a conditional basis only for the militia. Wrong. And even the militia will tell you, you can interview any militia, they'll tell you the same thing. No, individual people have the right to defend themselves also. They'll say that. Now, let me go over to, there's a court case, Nunn versus Georgia in 1846, saying state law ban on handguns was unconstitutional. Yeah, and I agree with that. The District of Columbia versus Heller, that was the first gun control measure that overturned, The District of Columbia versus Heller, that they used the Second Amendment to overturn a gun case or a gun law, something like that. So, it was the first court case saying one can have firearms that's unconnected to the militia for self-defense in one's home. I'll say that again. Remember that court case, District of Columbia versus Heller? I'll say that. So I want this to sink in. I want you to think about what the court said. According to the courts, the Supreme Court, this is the first case saying that one can have a firearm that's unconnected to the militia to protect themselves in their home. Oh, okay, I get it. So what the court is saying, well, you can protect yourself in the home, and we don't. In this instance, you won't have to worry about the militia. So bottom line is, what they're saying in this court case, that they were using. How can I say this? I want to say this correctly. They were trying to imply, since the militia cannot really be there, or the militia's not involved in this situation, you can go ahead and have a gun and protect yourself in your home. If that makes any sense. So, bottom line is this: in this court case, I'm going to say this correctly because I'm trying to, put it in words so we really understand it. What it's saying is, in this court case, is the first court case saying a firearm is not connected to. Bottom line is, what they're saying, if you want to own a firearm, it has to be connected to a militia in some kind of way. If you're not connected to a militia, then you can't have a firearm. That's what this court case is saying, and that's in 2008. That's what they're implying. They're not saying that maybe directly, but they're implying only way to really have a firearm is if you're connected to the militia. But what they're saying is, since you're in the privacy of your own home, and the militia can't be in the privacy of your own home, go ahead and have a gun to protect yourself. Yeah, that came out actually better. That's what they're trying to say. Now, granted, someone will say, well, if that's the case, what about all the states have these concealed weapons permits and people are still carrying guns in the streets and blah, blah, blah? Well, that's very simple. There's only one Supreme Court with 9 judges. They can't police the entire country. It's impossible. So states can still do their own thing. And each individual state government cannot police the entire state. You still have a right to defend yourself, even outside of your home. Frankly, if I were president, all of these so-called gun ban laws, that would be my first day. If I were president in office, I'll write an executive order that will eliminate all of them. All of them will go. Because there's still no documented proof, and this is another misconception people have, because they're not thinking outside the box, they're not using logic. People have this misconception that when you write a law, that's going to prevent crime. Or when you write a law on a specific crime, it's going to prevent that crime. You will never be able to show me any kind of documentation that proves that. Writing laws are not to prevent crimes. Writing laws are what they're written to show you what are the ramifications in the event you commit a crime, like murder, for example. Of course, we all know that it's wrong. It's naturally wrong to murder somebody. We all know that. That's just our natural instincts. So they wrote up legislation to let you know, okay, these are the consequences of murder. That's what laws are really written for. They're not written to prevent. They don't prevent anything. People are going to do what they're going to do anyway. If laws are written to prevent anything, if that were the case, that means you're telling me local, state, and federal governments, people, which the 99.9% of people don't do, people wake up first thing in the morning and then go to the state statutes, ordinances, penal codes, and start reading them so they know what not to do. No one does that. Nobody does that. I just started reading that stuff like 5 years ago because it interests me. But I read them to see how they're written so I can see if they're actually violating natural rights. Consciously, 85% of the world, thank God, automatically does the right thing. We don't need this enormous stack of laws that tell us what not to do. We already know what not to do. They're written to let you know if you violate any so-called natural right, or laws or what have you. This is the punishment for them. That's what they're written for. So, as far as a mass shooter, terrorist, bank robber, you think they're going to, before they do whatever it is they're going to do, you think they're going to go to the law and read, okay, well, I can't do this. No, they're going to do it anyway. And those that are doing whatever it is that they're doing, that don't plan on killing themselves, like some have done, they're going to try and get away so they can avoid the consequences that are that's written in that law as far as what's going to happen to you, jail time, execution, whatever. That's just a fact. So, I'm going to get back to this court case again so it can sink in so I can reiterate it in a better language than I was at the beginning, like 10, 15 minutes ago. In the District of Columbia versus Heller court case, citation number 554 U.S. 570, in 2008, the court said this was the first case saying one can can have a firearm that's unconnected to the militia for home defense. The fact that they even said, well, you can have a firearm in your house for home defense, and it doesn't have to be connected to a militia, which means what they are implying, well, since most of the time we really want you to have a firearm if you're connected to a militia, you can have a firearm. But in this case, since you're in the privacy of your own home, you can have it without being connected to the militia. That's what this court case. Read the court case. That's what it's implying. It's implying that to have a firearm, technically you have to be connected to a militia. No, wrong. Because going back to the Denny's incident, and actually, now that I think about it, there was a case, and the lady spoke before Congress on this. I forgot what it was, but there was a case in Texas. A lady saw the thing when she was speaking before Congress. A man walked into a restaurant and started to shoot up the place. She was having breakfast or lunch with her father or family, something like that, and she was upset because at that time, in that part of Texas, maybe the entire state of Texas, I can't remember, they didn't allow concealed carry. Had they allowed it, maybe the guy that walked in and started shooting up the place, he may have still killed a couple of people, but he may have killed a lot less had people been armed so they could shoot him. Never know. What happened in Fort Hood, Texas? And when Clinton first did this, I was infuriated that he did this. How military personnel cannot carry sidearms on military bases? Well, hello, they are in the armed forces. When they are in the armed forces, what you are implying that you trust them with weapons and around weapons. So why can't they have one on their side? If they have one on their side, I firmly believe that idiot that shot up, I think he killed like 22 people with a gun randomly, he would have been put down after maybe killing just one or two individuals versus 22 plus. Anything can happen at any given moment by anybody. Doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to call the militia right away. You're not going to be able to call the Army right away. You're not going to be able to call the Marines right away. You're not going to be able to call the Navy right away. You're not going to be able to call the Air Force right away. You're not going to be able to call police, SWAT team right. You're not going to be able to call them right away. You need, if something's going on, you need to be protected at that moment. People have the God-given right to protect themselves in the event something happens to them at that moment. So all those that are against guns, I can care less. If you don't like it, move to another country. There's nothing stopping you but space and opportunity. Get on a plane, get on a boat. I was going to say train because you can't take a train across the ocean. Or get on a boat and go. Nobody's stopping you. And on that note, I'll go further into it. Say they confiscated all the weapons. If a criminal wants a weapon, or even an automatic weapon, to do whatever, they're going to get it on the black market. They're going to get it. One thing I learned when I worked in the prison for 4 years, if a criminal mind, I won't even say individual, but a criminal mind wants to do harm using any kind of weapon or anything, they're gonna get it, or they're gonna die trying. That's just their character makeup. I'm glad it's not mine. I'm glad it's not many of yours. But there are unfortunately some people like that. So that you can put restrictions on anything that you want. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Just like different countries trying to prevent other countries from obtaining nuclear weapons, they're going to get them. Just a matter of time. So that too is going to happen. You want to stop nuclear arms? Get rid of nuclear weapons across the board. Any and all kind of materials that makes nuclear weapons. Now granted, someone could say I'm being a hypocrite, well, because earlier in the video I said, well, they shouldn't get rid of any and all kinds of accessories that can make a weapon automatic, and I agree with that. But when it comes to the real security of a whole nation as a whole, to get rid of all the components that makes a nuclear weapon, that's a whole different ball game. That's a different story, baby. And I'm sure you all will agree with that, meaning getting rid of even accessories that makes nuclear weapons that can blow up a country in a matter of minutes. Automatic can't blow up an entire country. So I'm talking about for the safety as a whole. Now, someone can also argue, well, Bryon, for safety as a whole, we should get rid of automatic weapons because even in a small community, someone can do damage. Well, you're right. But at the same time, to prevent someone from doing damage to that community, people still have a right to be self-armed. I mean, we can go round and round with this. We can. Unless you can obliterate all of the guns and all of the equipment that can make a gun, then have at it. At the same time, police, any and all in law enforcement has to give up their guns also. But then again, I can also flip it back at you, say for example, we all agree to that. What if, for example, a lot of people seem to think this won't happen? You better wake up. What if the federal government wants to institute kind of martial laws to do whatever against our will, and then they federalize the police and then give them weapons back to do it? But at the same time, the average person, well, all your weapons are confiscated. How are you going to defend yourself? Because also people have this misconception, well, our own government wouldn't do anything to us. Well, if you really believe that, I suggest you wake up now. Look at all the false flags that have been proven. Look at all the conspiracy theories that have been proven that's been done against American people on American soil. Look at 3 wars that could have been prevented that the president had due knowledge of. FDR had 2 or 3 notice about what Japan was going to do. Not to mention FDR helped foment that situation. The Vietnam conflict, they knew that was a lie, but they got us into war. So therefore, look what they did to the American society and to the world. Iraq, they had confirmation of that about the so-called planes, which that's another topic at a later date. Bottom line is, look, the people by local, state, and federal governments, especially federal governments, we're expendable assets. We don't mean nothing to them. Just like when you go into the military, they'll tell you all the time, you are an expendable asset. To them, it's called, what's that term? Their favorite, oh, yes, plausible deniability. You don't mean anything to them. And people of great power, even in federal governments, they'll sacrifice their own mom to keep that power. So again, it goes back to, at the end of the day, I am duty bound to have the natural right to have a weapon to protect myself. Even an automatic weapon, because the enemy, whoever they may be, they too have automatic weapons. Now, let me cover a couple of things in closing. Number 1, and I've listed them, so I'll say a couple of them. Mass shootings happened in Las Vegas, 2017, Orlando, Florida, June 12, 2016, Blacksburg, Virginia, April 16, 2007, Newton, Connecticut, December 14, 2012, Killeen, Texas, October 16, 1991. So there's 2 mass shootings in Texas, or 3 total, maybe more. San Ysidro, California, July 19th, 1984. I remember that one. That happened in San Ysidro, California. That mass shooting was, I think it was in McDonald's or Burger King, one of the 2. Austin, Texas, August 1st, 1966. That was that one I posted on my Facebook 3-4 days ago with Charles J. Whitman, barricaded himself in the Texas University in Austin, Texas, and started shooting people from top of the tower. But the difference is he had a scope on his rifle, so he was specifically targeting people. Edmond, Oklahoma, August 20th, 1986. San Bernardino, California, December 2nd, 2015. Fort Hood, Texas, 2009. So, bottom line is, but my point being, all these different locations, when it happens, you can't, okay, let me call the militia right quick. Let me call the military right quick. Let me call the SWAT team right quick. You, again, have a right to protect yourself as it's happening right then and now. Also, as part of my closing, if you read court cases, I've noticed, court cases, plural, I've noticed attorneys want to use the Commerce Clause regarding people with guns. One good, very good court case was United States versus Lopez. He was caught carrying a concealed weapon by his school. They tried to use the Commerce Clause to uphold his conviction, because according to them, it said that no reason. The court said there was no reason to. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Where'd it go? Give me a second. Oh, I didn't write it down. Anyway, I remember the court case. The court or the attorney tried to argue and said, well, having a gun up near a school ground in the event something happened, it's going to take a lot of insurance to repair or cover whoever, or to cover whomever, and of course insurance is used commerce across borders. So they always try to use the Commerce Clause to justify their BS. Attorneys, a lot of you attorneys, you're funny. You should try to be a comedian. But you may fail at that also. But anyway. Speaking of also carrying a concealed weapon, I highly disagree with having a concealed weapon permit. Because here's one example I want to incorporate. This case has nothing to do with guns, but part of this court case has everything to do with guns. In Stafford United School District versus Reading, citation number 557 U.S. 364. In 2009, in the fifth point of that court case, the decision, it was said that there was no reason to suspect drugs were dangerous because this girl had drugs concealed in her backpack or something to that effect. She brought something to school with drugs. It was concealed. The school checked it. They called the police. She was arrested and convicted. The courts were saying just because the drugs were concealed, how can you prove that that was going to be a bad effect on the rest of the school? You can't prove it. You can never prove something like that. Here's my point. I go to a gun. I buy a gun at a gun store. Background check. I can have a gun. I start carrying it concealed. I get stopped, pulled over. Do you have a concealed weapons permit? No. Okay, we're going to arrest you for carrying a concealed weapon. Okay. How can you prove that that's a danger to society when I just bought it and I passed the background in the whole 9 yards? Because whether you carry a concealed weapon or not, they're going to check to see if you can have a concealed weapon. Are they not? Yes, they do. So my point being is this. They're making up a lot of these laws to get you arrested because why? It fuels the private prison industry. They make money off arrest, which will be another video at a later date. Once you get arrested, they put a bond on you. And once that bond starts circulating for profit, they start making money off that bond. That's why they like to drag court cases out forever and ever and ever and eons. But they won't tell you that. But that's all right, because myself and many others, we already have the evidence that proves that. And I'm going to start calling you prosecutors out on that, which will be another video at a later date. Also want to read, this is another reason why I encourage you all to read various papers and books and so forth. This is in the USA Today. Dated today. Section 6A, Friday, October 6, 2007 in the USA Today. A bump stock, and this is being quoted by the ATF, by the way. A bump stock doesn't make a semi-automatic firearm fully automatic. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives reviewed bump stocks under the Obama administration and concluded that they are legal. That's the ATF. If Congress wants to make them illegal, that's fine, but it won't have any effect. I'll read that part again. If Congress wants to make bump stocks illegal, that's fine, but it won't have any effect. I'll read it one more time. If Congress wants to make bump stocks illegal, that's fine, but it won't have any effect. Duh. That seems to be the only time a bump stock has been used in a mass shooting in America, even though they've been around for years. Most people don't know that. Bump stocks have been around for a long time. People seem to think this is something new. That's very significant also. I'll say that again. Bump stocks, have been around for a long time, but what happened in Vegas was the first time it's been used. So all you politicians that are jumping on this like a dog in heat, like white on rice, you all are fake. Election time is coming up, so you want something to use to make sure you're reelected. You don't care. You can care less. You just want something to use to appeal to your voting base. Most of you all, 99% of you, are not genuine. You're not real. You're fake. You're liars. You're cheats. And you are tyrannical. And we don't like you. Most of all, I don't like you. I don't trust you. I don't like you. And I challenge most of you all's so-called passions on the public record, in the public domain. Write it down, sign it, and swear to it. And if you violate it, if you're not genuine about it, then you will be eliminated. You will not run for any local, state, or federal office ever again. If you can do that with the utmost confidence, then I'll trust you. Right now, I don't trust police. I don't trust FBI. I don't trust CIA. I don't trust DEA. I don't trust Bureau of Land Management. I don't trust the congressman. I don't trust the senator. And I don't trust the president. I don't care if you're Obama, Trump, Romney. Doesn't matter. I don't trust any of you. None of you. So in closing, me personally, stay protected. Go out and buy a whole bunch of guns. Who cares? That's your natural right. And that's all I have to say about that. So this is Bryon Watkins on All Things Matter. The show is called Procedural Law and Justice. The show is not about that, but that's the name of the show. Signing off. You all be safe. Protect yourselves at all times. Go ahead and get protected and get yourself done.